It's ended 4-3 to Bayern Munich at half-time, and who would have thought we'd have gone to the Allianz Arena, scored 3 goals away from home, and not come back with a single point? I wouldn't have thought that, but that is defensive errors yet again, costing us silly mistakes at the back, silly lapses in concentration, a lack of effort from players not tracking back, costing us yet again, because 3 goals away at the Allianz Arena should be enough to get you a point. And there'll be idiots on there going, it's Ten Hag's fault, it's Ten Hag's fault, it's Ten Hag's fault. It's not Ten Hag's fault. Ten Hag, the first 25 minutes, Manchester United were the better team. The first 25 minutes, Manchester United, you could argue, deserved to be 1-0 up. We were all over them the first 25 minutes, like we were versus Bayern Munich. As soon as we concede 1 goal, we absolutely switch off, and then we concede another right away. That's a mentality issue. That's on the player. Ten Hag needs to work on that. But as soon as we go 1-0 down, the domination we have for 25 minutes switches off, and the players are lacking confidence. Players that are lacking confidence, players that, are not putting in the effort and don't have the right mentality, it's a recipe for disaster when you go 1-0 down. But you actually look at the game and you go, you know what? If those players had tracked back, if VAR didn't give them the most BS penalty ever, that penalty was not a penalty. What's Eriksen meant to do? Chop off his arms? United could have won that 3-2. If it wasn't for the penalty, it's 3-3. And weirdly enough, we didn't play well. And I'm not saying that we deserve to win the game. Not at all. I'm not saying we deserve to win the game the slightest. But I'm not as upset or angry as I think it could be, because there actually were some positives. I mean, there's the big negative, the midfield. The midfield was an absolute mess, people. Like, the midfield was awful. There's people on there who will blame Ten Hag. There's people on there that will blame Onana. And the Onana mistake was dreadful. And, you can't blame Ten Hag for losing, because if Onana doesn't make that mistake, which he shouldn't normally make, it's 3-3. If they don't get that BS penalty, we win 3-2. We score 3 goals away from home. We actually, on another day of the week, if we had a bit of luck, because we don't have luck at the moment, we really don't have luck with the injuries and the decisions we get. The fact that the Romero one wasn't a penalty against Spurs, but that's a penalty I don't get. Garnacho goal ruled out, Hojlund goal ruled out. Like, we don't get any of the luck at the moment. We know that, and we don't have any luck with injuries. But if we had the luck on our side, we could have come away with 3-3. We could have come away with 3-2 win. You never know, but we didn't. But I'm not going to be super negative, and I'm not going to blame it on the manager, because basically he coached a 25-minute win. Players turn off. Players don't have the mentality. Players switch off. Defensive errors, silly mistakes cost us. And this is the problem with United. It's a continuous cycle. We play well, we concede, we capitulate, we give up, mentality goes. Then we get back in the game. And as soon as we get back in the game, we concede again. Silly penalty, I know. And then we score another goal, we get back in the game, then we concede again. We have a problem with switching off after goals. We have a problem with mentality. But the biggest problem we have, and the thing that cost us today, is work rate. I've been protective of Marcus Rashford, but I did not see him trap back once. He did not trap back. If our players had put in anywhere near the amount of effort the Bayern Munich players had put in, we would have got a result today. But we were 3-1 down, and there was a period from minute 54 when they were 3-1 up to minute 85 where it was the Bayern Munich show. It was like a training match for Bayern Munich. They were all over us. It was the Bayern Munich show. The players gave up. They were jogging. I was thinking it was the 80th minute. We have 10 minutes to go and we're jogging. McTominay came on the pitch and did absolutely nothing. It was jogging FC. And if those players were not jogging, if those players were given 100%, they came on with that Hannibal Mejbri attitude, who should have come on for Eriksen, 100%. If they'd have come on with that Hannibal Mejbri attitude, I think we could have got a result. I really do. Now, I don't want to talk about Onana. I don't want to talk about Ten Hag, because I think that's a silly scapegoat. Onana is at fault for I guess, a point. He shouldn't have made that mistake. The big problem was Casemiro and Eriksen. And I don't have an issue with Casemiro. I'm not one of the people that's going to say Casemiro is our biggest problem, but Casemiro and Eriksen don't work. And Casemiro and Eriksen was the problem today. Casemiro was fantastic going forward. He scored 2 goals, but that midfield got overrun. And what's costing us this season, and the problem is very obvious, is the midfield is being overrun. We miss Fred. We generally miss Fred, because Fred and the Casemiro worked well, because Fred could cover that ground that Casemiro can't cover and Eriksen can't cover. Eriksen and Casemiro aren't the best at covering ground. They're getting outrun. The other opponents are fitter than us. When you're getting outrun, you lose control. When you're getting outrun, you lose control. So the defence are exposed more. The defence, big mess today. We'll talk about that later. When you lose control of the game, you can't keep the ball as well. You can't retain the ball as well. The attack don't get much of the ball. Rashford wasn't great, but he didn't get much of the ball, but he didn't trap that, which is a disgrace. Hojlund basically is living off scraps, but managed to score a goal. Rasmus Hojlund is absolutely fantastic. We will talk about him in a second. And Pelistri barely got an opportunity to touch the ball, but Pelistri was good when he was on it. Arguably, he should have won a penalty. The biggest problem at Man United is the lack of control in midfield. And one of the reasons there's a lack of control in midfield is because those two midfielders, Casemiro and Eriksen, when they play against a good side, a good midfield, they can't keep up with the tempo and the energy. And a lot of people don't like Mason Mount. A lot of people are hounding the Mason Mount signing. But that is the one thing that Mason Mount can do. And I can see more and more why we signed Mason Mount, because he's that one player that can cover ground that Casemiro and Eriksen can't do. And we could have used Mason Mount today. And I tell you what, we could have really used Amrabat today. And when I look at it and I say, you bring Varane back into the squad for Lindelof, you've got Mount, Amrabat and Maino that can all go in the midfield. Hannibal Mejbri's here for the season, young and hungry. I go, you know what, if Ten Hag changes it, if he's not stubborn, if he makes some changes, if he puts in some young, hungry players, I think we can get back on track, because I saw some positives today. Martial was good. Rasmus Hojlund was really, really good. Scored a goal, is scoring out of nothing. Rasmus Hojlund can score. Martial looked good. Pelistri is hungry. I saw some positives. Onana was very good apart from the mistake. If you took that mistake away from Onana and he saved that, you'd be giving him an 8 out of 10. You generally would. That's the thing as well. The midfield is the biggest problem. And Mount, Amrabat and Maino will help with the midfield. Another big problem is the work rate and attitude of the players. That is a big problem. They're not tracking back. They're not trying hard enough. Reguilon, again, second game in a row where Reguilon's been one of our best players, because Reguilon wants it. He's hungry. Rashford, now he's got that new contract, he looks like he's lost all that hunger. Certain players at United are giving up. And I see people going in on Bruno. Oh, Bruno's not trying. Bruno was the only midfielder that went back and actually defended our box for minutes of that game. While Casemiro was brilliant going forward, he did not track back. Eriksen could not cover the ground, and the pressing was, as Nuruddin says, shadow pressing. There was no pressing from Man United. But the worst thing about this team is the lack of concentration. It keeps costing us time and time again. We've got no luck. It's the lack of concentration. 4 minutes between Bayern's first goal and second goal. 5 minutes between our first goal and Bayern's third. 4 minutes between our second goal and their fourth. Every time there's a goal, we switch off. And when you're making individual errors, you've got zero confidence and you're switching off, it is a recipe for disaster as well. The positive is Rasmus Hojlund, very few touches, but whenever Rasmus Hojlund's got the ball, he's scored. He basically scored versus Brighton, but it was ruled out. He's very good versus Arsenal. Rasmus Hojlund's been good all 3 games, but Scott McTominay came on and did nothing. Scott McTominay's not good enough. We should have accepted 30 million from West Ham. He's absolutely not good enough. And I want, next time we're in that situation, I want Mejbri to come on ahead of Scott McTominay. I want Hannibal Mejbri to come on instead of Scott McTominay. And I have to say, I think Rashford wasn't tracking back, and maybe instead of bringing Pelistri off, we should have brought Rashford off for Garnacho. Rashford is untouchable at the moment, and I like Rashford, but if he's not tracking back, he's not doing his job for the team, that's when he needs to come off. Yes, Rashford's the only guy in this squad that can make something out of nothing, but if he's not doing his tracking back for the team, that's when you've got to say, Rashford, the reason you were dropped is because you weren't tracking back, because I would have taken Rashford off for Garnacho today. But I'm not blaming Ten Hag. I'm blaming the lack of options we have, which is on the board, and the lack of effort from the players. But I actually think there were some positives from that game. I just think there's clearly a mentality issue. Ten Hag needs to be more ruthless, but I think Amrabat coming in, Maino coming in, Mount coming in is really going to improve us a lot. The midfield is the biggest problem at the moment. The attitude in the midfield is the biggest problem at the moment. VAR isn't helping. On another day, without that awful VAR choice, it's 3-3, and we feel a lot better about it. But you know what? I still feel confident that we're going to turn it around. I still feel confident Ten Hag's going to turn it around. I've just got to hope that these players do. I can be confident that Ten Hag's going to turn it around, but actually maybe I'm not confident, because I'm not confident in these players putting in the effort and doing what they're required to do to actually get us back into it. Because for me, these players aren't given 100%. These players aren't given 100%, and the biggest problem is we do play well and then they just absolutely go wrong. Robbo summed it up here. We start the game the much better side, and then we miss a blatant chance or two. Then we concede a goal due to error, and then the heads drop, the concentration goes, and the deficit doubles. That is the problem at United. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm not super angry. I'm not impressed by them all over us. They're clearly the better team. But there were positives to go off, and I do think when players are back from injuries, it will improve. But yeah, not good enough for Manchester United. Thank you for watching. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Bye.